Hello everybody, Frankie here from Vibrant Center for Voice and Movement, and this week I want to bring in some exercises from a practice that is very dear to my heart. It is Suzuki Actor Training. But I went away and also thought about what would be useful in short 15-minute increments, especially in a system where I can't see you, so I can't provide you with feedback. And this is a technique. This is, it has the potential for injury if you're not doing it well or correctly. And so where I'm going to focus today is on aspects that I wish someone had taught me before I started learning Suzuki. I really love Suzuki Actor Training because it's very intense, and I like intense physical experiences, and I like using my body to access my emotions, and I find that that way is very authentic. And I'm always very interested in that outside-in approach, that by moving in a certain way, by having certain physical experiences, by making adjustments, that can have profound effects on my voice, profound effects on my nervous system, and then that creates profound effects on my emotions and then my performance. That being said, there are some challenges that I came across in my experience around Suzuki Actor Training, and that involved me getting injured. And the people who were teaching at the time weren't really able to understand or how to mitigate injury, but it was more about the results that they wanted. And there were some aspects, because my background is in voice initially, that I had issues with Suzuki, because the voices that I was hearing from the actors were really strained and like really, there wasn't a lot of breath there. There wasn't a lot of softness there, with the exception of probably about one, maybe two performers. And especially because the circles that I was in, the Suzuki Actor Training, was with a lot of young people. And so very gung-ho and excited, but there's something to be said for finding emotional maturity and being able to be guided into accessing that. So where I invite you to start is, if you have a straw, I want to bring the straw back, because when I worked with Catherine Fitzmaurice, she talked to me about her experience working with Tadashi Suzuki, and she said that when she was in Japan watching him teach, the actors there used their transverse. The actors there used support for their voice that was in a lower and deeper place in their postural system, in their abdominal muscles, than what a lot of us do in the West. We also live in a culture that's very obsessed with the six-pack, right? And so working on the more external or more superficial abdominal muscles can have some massive ramifications for the voice and our ability to be receptive, our ability to be expressive. And so before I take you through a few lessons over the next few days that look at some concepts of Suzuki and integrating that into your practice, which can then have profound effects on your performances, on your auditions, on your artistic explorations, I want to take this day to focus a little bit more on some preparatory work that I wish had been part of my practice earlier on. The last video that I took you through involves some vigorous movement and some getting into the thighs, and that is also part of the preparatory work. But for this one, I want to emphasize finding softness even in intensity. Suzuki is less of a mainstay of my practice, but it is still very valuable for actor training and has a lot to teach us. Tadashi Suzuki started with his approach to training because he was watching more and more of his actors become so fixated on the screen, on television and movie acting, that he said, my actors don't have feet anymore. And so his focus is on the base of support and on the feet, and that the performance starts the moment that the feet hit the stage. We'll get onto her feet on another day, but where I want you to start is to explore your transverse. So for this one, to start off with, get your straw if you have one. If you don't, I'll offer you a different option. And I encourage you to come onto the ground if you'd like, but you can also do this standing. And the first thing I want you to do is take a moment to sit however you'd like to sit. I have my feet in a diamond position, if you can see. And just take a moment to check in with your breath. And notice if there are places of tension or holding. And I'm not asking you to eradicate them. I want you to form an awareness, an imprint of where your tension is today. Ah, yeah. Oh. And then I want you to gather all of that tension up. Really let it have a voice, right? You can hear tensing in my throat. I want you to explore tension in your throat. And I have tension in my feet. And I want you to explore how this could be useful to gather all of your tension together. Oh, and if there's a part of you, that wants to squeeze, a little extra squeeze, give that to yourself now. Oh, sometimes we're so afraid of tension. So this is actually really healthy to explore tension because it exists and it's in your body. And then when you're ready to move on, I want you to take this into a very soft and slow growth. Grow wide, grow long. Take up space. Ooh. Open your ribs. If you want to, there we go, crack, crackle, pop. If you want to shift side to side, do that. Let there be space between your fingers and toes. Explore yawning. And then take this into a shake. I want you to shake your feet side to side, shake your legs, shake your arms, shake your head, shake your torso, shake on your sit bones side to side. And when you decide to take a rest, you're going to stop and flop like a rag doll. And you can flop into the floor. You can flop against a wall. You can flop into a chair. And notice your breath now. And I want you to roll your neck side to side. Just pursue what feels good. Investigate that. Let your head come to center. Take a fist under the forehead to raise the head up. And go back to flop, or find a position that feels comfortable and supported. And take a moment to look around the room and find something that feels like a resource for you now. Something that feels like an anchor. That supports you in this work. And you'll let that go in 3, 2, 1. Lovely. So the reason I want to start there is because pursuing intensity has value, and we need tension in terms of exploring characters or exploring certain kinds of performance. But when we walk in with our own tension, and then we heap tension on top of tension, or we go into explore intensity without taking the time to connect and release, we can do our breath, our bodies, our voices disservice. I think you can even hear, I'm feeling how my voice is dropped and shifted from the moment, from this moment compared to starting the video. The next is I want you to explore your transverse, because finding the transverse to support you in Suzuki work is incredibly valuable, and it will allow your breath to be supported and to move, and your voice to be supported without strain. Really, using the transverse without Suzuki work is magic and important, but as a safety belt, as a support system, even more valuable. And one way to find the transverse is with a straw. It's not the only way, but it can be very helpful. And I want you to imagine, when I'm talking about the transverse, I want you to imagine like a wrestler belt. And you know how they have these belts that wrap around their bodies, and it's nice and wide in the front, but it continues around to the back. For those of you who do Pilates, you may be familiar with the idea of belly button to spine, and that's a similar idea that engages the transverse to support the spine and the postural, other postural muscles. Similarly, you're using the transverse in this situation. So coming on to whatever's comfortable, if you want to kneel or sit, whatever you'd like to do. And I want you to have a hand under your belly button, and I want you just to think belly button to spine, breathing in, and then Lovely. Now let's bring the straw into this, and I would like you to blow through the straw on a hum. Any note, doesn't matter. And you can test that you are indeed blowing through the straw by bringing your finger on the end from time to time and seeing if you can stop the flow of air. If you don't have a straw, then what I want you to do is simply make a V shape with your lips and keep that sound nice and forward. So let's try one more time. For those of you with a straw, use your finger. For those of you without a straw, a nice buzzy V on the lips. lovely. And whether you're using a straw or a V shape, I want you to really think about bringing that voice forward on the lips. One more time. And you can see my hand is here, so bringing your hand under your belly button, and I want you to think belly button to spine, breathing in. And one more time. High to low. What might help as you think belly button to spine is hug the belly button towards the spine, or if it helps, think of like a little flap that you're closing that flap in as you're exhaling. And this is a gentle movement at this point because you're using a nice long exhalation. Let's go low to high. Nice. And then roller coaster all over the place. Lovely. One last time just for fun, roller coaster. Nice. So belly button to spine, how does this then translate into physical work? Just sitting here, I want you to explore finding a seat, bringing your knees in, hugging your knees to your chest. And with your knees to your chest, can you feel your belly as you breathe in? And then belly button to spine. Great. Now I want you to lift your feet a little bit up off the floor. Let me do it this way. There you go. So it's kind of like a boat, but I'm not asking you to do a huge boat. So you're going to bring your feet up off the floor after an inhale. Let's try this again. Inhale, feet up off the floor, and then belly button to spine on an Okay, so inhale, feet off the floor. And come back down. And let's do that one more time. Inhale and then lift the feet up off the floor. Nice. So being able to feel the transverse will be incredibly useful in being able to utilize and support your voice even when your body is undergoing tension or extreme positions, or even in just holding a shape. Models experience this all the time, and actors working with very strange camera angles sometimes experience this, where to look natural on camera, you're doing something very bizarre with your body, but still needing to be able to support yourself so that you're not straining your voice, or that there's that pain or discomfort coming across in your face that doesn't have to do with your performance. Models experience this a lot, especially when they do life modeling and they have to hold a position for 20 minutes, an hour, or what have you. And so some models are very good at being able to make micro adjustments and also being able to use some of their deeper postural muscles to be able to support themselves. So this type of practice has a whole host of applications. Most importantly, though, is I want to focus in on actor training and ensuring that you support the voice. Something that I experienced a lot as an actor was I started off in voice and it was almost disembodied in a lot of ways. It was just neutral body, but not a lot of movement. And then when I went into physical training, um, in certain circumstances, the voice was non-existent. And not only did that mean that while we were progressing physically, we weren't progressing vocally, or we were losing our skill and our fitness vocally, but it also had ramifications on the performances that we were doing, in that literally there would be no voice. Or if it was like a very raw, very rectus-y, screamy, thready kind of voice. And it's so important to me, and why I do what I do, to keep the whole actor present, so that you're not being asked to take your emotional life away because you got to get through this physically intense exercise. You're not being asked to lose your connection to your body because you have a script and you're putting everything up in here instead of using your body, and on and on. So it's important to ensure that the breath and the voice and the body and the nervous system and the emotional life are all balanced, all progressing, and of course that you are a physical, vocal, and emotional athlete. So I'm going to leave it there, and I will continue on with this look at some principles for Suzuki and how it's useful for actor training as it's intended to be tomorrow. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.